The image of the plague doctor, with his long black robes, wide-brimmed hat, leather gloves, and the eerie bird-like beaked mask, has become one of the most haunting symbols of Europe's struggle with epidemic disease. To modern eyes, this costume looks like something from a nightmare, but for centuries it represented both fear and fragile hope. The plague doctor emerged during one of the darkest chapters in human history, the repeated outbreaks of bubonic plague that swept across Europe between the 14th and 18th centuries. Life as a plague doctor was dangerous, grueling, and often short, yet it reveals much about medieval medicine, social organization, and human resilience. The first plague doctors appeared in the 14th century during the Black Death, 1347 to 1351, the most devastating pandemic in human history. The Black Death, caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis spread by fleas on rats, killed between 1/3 and 1/2 of Europe's population. Communities were desperate for healers, yet many physicians fled cities to avoid infection. In this void, rulers and municipalities hired doctors specifically to tend to plague victims. These were not always the most skilled physicians, often they were young, inexperienced, or even second-rate medical practitioners willing to take enormous risks for steady pay. Plague doctors were typically municipal employees, hired by city councils or nobles to serve the public rather than private patients. They had contracts that outline their duties, salary, and sometimes benefits such as lodging or extra pay if they stayed during an outbreak. This made them unusual in the medical profession, where most physicians catered to wealthy private clients. By the late 18th century, the role of plague doctors faded as plague itself receded from Europe. Improved sanitation, changes in rat populations, and possibly shifts in the plague bacterium reduced outbreaks. Medicine also advanced, moving away from humoral theory toward scientific observation and germ theory. The plague doctor, once a real figure, became more of a historical memory and a cultural archetype. Life as a plague doctor was not only physically risky but also emotionally devastating. Each day brought encounters with mass suffering, abandoned children, entire families wiped out, and the relentless smell of decay. Doctors recorded feelings of helplessness, as treatments failed and patients died despite their efforts. The role required both courage and resignation, accepting the likelihood of death while continuing to serve. For some, religious faith provided meaning. Many plague doctors believed they were instruments of divine will, helping to guide souls to their fate. Others, influenced by early humanist thought, saw their work as a duty to society, even if it meant personal sacrifice.